Yes.
Yes, yes, man. Was there something in your throat? You feeling a little under the weather?
Yeah.
Is it because you're secretly a symbiote attached to Justin Robert Young, and with him on the other side of the planet, you began to slowly decay, and as a result, you're not able to manifest your majestic voice as easily as usual?
Yes.
Right on. Well, it's good to see you, yes, man. Argo, no!
No, Argo, no, Argo, no.
The Yes Man is not used to being told goodbye.
I just didn't know where to take them. I was just so thrilled that I didn't stumble on my word and was able to stick that landing.
All right, let's take a look at some titles over at nightattack.showbot.tv, including our top one, Hair Today, Dog to Mambo. I don't remember that one. Oh, because he danced.
Hair
Yes.
Today. Well, the hairline and the dog dancing.
That's
yeah.
very good by
Hair Today, Dog to Mambo's pretty good.
We're all winners except Osama bin Laden with the hyphen. Modern. Is it
Two on the nose.
best dancing dog, Brushwood. Mucho podcast.
Hairline reasons.
What up, Chinese restaurant?
Oh, Mario and Luigi.
I kissed AI girl and I liked it. It's clever. Facebook police. Never forget this hairline. Looks like Greek yogurt. Two current, also a rotting corpse. Canonically 619. Let's see here. Bonnie likes BBW. Maybe not an exact quote, but Chow, the Italian job. Let's see, night attack communion, night communion. It's shaped like a boot was very good. Let's see. Showing off the pale faces.
Fat Rick, the Facebook police.
Chihuahuas.
I was surprised you didn't take the bait on that one. I would have liked to have interviewed Fat Rick and moonlighting as Facebook police since he's not in the race.
I mean, I kind of feel like that was a voice on a voice. Like,
yeah.
We were kind of into a character, so I didn't know how to pivot it back to another character.
Ooh, okay.
Baby Steps by Calvin Klein. All
right, let's go with that, see where we're at.
Hair Today, Dog to Mambo is so good.
All right, we'll do that. Thank you.
Good one.
Thank you, BioCow, and everyone who showed how to using the Bang Us command in the chat room. I'm gonna go write an email.
By the way, I was seeing a lot of best episode evers in there. It felt good to come back and everybody dig it so much. So I'm very, very excited that we came back and we're rock.
You mean like tonight or in the bank?
No, during the episode.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, people were fucking.
Bonnie's over there clearing her throat. Bonnie, did you see that Andrew? I made you watch that Andrew Heaton video, right?
She's not on mic.
She said yes.
She said yes.
She said yes. Oh my god.
Oh, holy shit! I got a great after show thing for you. I woke up. This was the last night that we were in Palermo, and I can't get to sleep. And so my phone's charging next to Ashley, and I'm like, Ashley, hand me my phone. She said, cool. I came up with the follow-up for the All Set Up Magician.
Oh, shit. Go on.
All right.
Can you share it?
The No Illusions Illusionist.
Oh, shit. So it's all you... So you walk out...
Black stage, Brian. Black stage.
Okay.
Voice over the, narrator voice, basically.
When I was a boy.
Wait, hold on. Wait, no. Before we get to there.
Okay, all right.
The following is what is known in the industry as a boxless rehearsal. In a moment, your performer will come out and perform his full routine. Instead of illusions, you will receive verbal clues as to what the illusions look like and when they are completed. Please react as if you had saw the completed illusion. Thank you. And so at that point, I just come out and it's like the Netflix descriptions of like when it's like,
Oh shit! He's just like flexing to thunderous applause, two fists like pound hams raised to the sky,
Yeah, exactly,
with the energy and twinkling eyes of a white tiger set alight. Justin walks on stage.
and it's just me doing the like, you know, the like oh, like the big like
Masculine energy emanates as he points, gestures first to the left, then to the right. A giant razor blade is grabbed, banged thrice. Dang, dang, dang. There's
Yeah.
no question, it's very sharp.
I think the real comedy is when your assistant comes out and you shove her into boxes, and then she's like in the poses of the actual illusions that, like, so you're giving away secrets of the actual tricks by showing how the woman looks in there.
I was actually thinking about that on how funny it would be as if you actually just like did stuff like that. But then I was like, oh man, number one, this isn't gonna be a real routine. The only time that like I would ever do this is like at the
Scoop
fucking
Fest.
Ice Cream Social talent show at Scoop Fest or whatever, or like fitting it into a time where Brian's doing a show while we're doing Night Attack, like at the same thing. So I'm like, all right, it's got to be one person. But I did have an idea of how to have that same energy. Do you remember the you ever see Lance Burton's fencing?
Oh,
Like-
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
years ago. Yeah.
But basically, the big ending is that he's fencing some, you know, guy, and he puts down his mask, and the next thing you know, he gets killed by the guy, and then you realize, oh no, he's the guy, and so Lance Burton reveals that like at some point there was a switcheroo, and he was the bad guy, and he was fencing what looked to be him. So
So can I guess where this is headed? Like it sounds.
it'll be me boxing a robot, and it'll be me like, and so I'll have like my magician thing, and it's like he's boxing the robot, uppercuts, lefts, jabs, and then at some point like we'll like, you know, go off stage, and then I'll just come back with the robot head.
But I would imagine like what I would love is like, you know, like the robot makes an unfair uppercut, and then basically at some point like the description is continuing to describe you beating up the robot, but you very clearly are sneaking around on all fours. But the description keeps on going, like his face bloodied, but his steely eyes remain with resolve as he decides to crush the robot. And you're just crawling around as the description goes on, and it finally ends with you clawing, and the robot on the ropes finally destroys Justin. And then you do.
Yeah. No,
that's
totally.
great.
That
Great.
was kind of the idea. Is I have a little bit of that, like okay, well let's actually just fucking explain how magic tricks are done.
Or at least, you know, that magic trick. I mean,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but the idea of
Energy, yeah.
I do like the storytelling element of the description of this epic battle happening while
Yeah.
all anyone sees is you crawling around on stage.
I have another idea for another character.
Yeah.
The masked Majuri. And it's just you doing bits where you give out pieces of personally identifiable information. So you're like, look at my ID card. Is this my ID? Does this look like me? Is this me? But you're wearing that. Is this me? I don't know.
No, I
Or you
like
do bits. Think of a street address, like my street address, and you or I don't know.
I
Find
like,
out ways to
well,
just,
what if the masked magician, after he comes back, he's saying, you know, I already fixed magic by revealing all of its secrets. Now I'm here to fix you. Martha Johnson. Social security number 427512899. Address 934 Maple Street. She's 4 weeks late on her credit.
Oh God, actually, that would be a funny setup.
Like
for,
just
like,
what other
I've always wanted to do a thing where it's like, and we almost did it with Auntie Donna when we were doing that show in Tom's basement. Just to do a bit where you just type in certain letters in people's phone browsers.
Yes.
Autocompletes them. Just like, give me your phone. Give me your phone.
Wait, you did do that. You did that with them on the podcast.
Yeah.
In Tom's house.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we did. I forget
Yeah,
how
we did.
far we got into that bit, but I've always thought that that's like
Far enough that we found out that when you type in Y, it autocompletes with youtube.com/comments on my phone.
yes. I just want to see how many people when you type in P autocompletes the porn.
I love the idea, though, that we'd have to figure out how to get that Mitch Pileggi smug narrator voice, because the Masked Magician doesn't talk. And so he's acting like, this is Wanda Johnson. She's going to act like she's going to sell you a house, but really she's just a woman. And it's like, look at her presenting, staging this, trying to make the room as airy and opening as possible. But you won't be fooled. Yeah, right. Like these windows, the treatments match these curtains over here. That's to deceive you into believing it's more pleasing than it actually is.
But when the house is sold, the curtains are gone.
I just love the idea of him just shitting on noble everything. Like, this surgeon is going to try to repair your appendix. Really, he's cutting it out of you. Notice the 7 sutures over to the left. These are designed to minimize scarring. But you won't be fooled again.
Now that you know the secret.
Now that you know the secrets, you won't be fooled again. This actor's pretending to be a superhero. But look at this. He's wearing a microphone. That's so you can hear his voice later in post.
That cityscape? That's just a green piece of fabric.
But now,
digital artists have replaced this with a vibrant city.
They want you to believe he's taller than a building. But now you won't be fooled.
What movie is this? This is great. Oh, Ant-Man probably, huh? Okay.
Harry Potter would have you believe that he goes to Hogwarts. But really, Daniel Radcliffe is his real name. And here's Dick in Equus.
J.K. Rowling would have you believe that wizards are real, but here's their real secret. These are just words printed on pages. She made them all up.
Be fooled again.
You won't be fooled. That's the part that he keeps coming back like got him.
Piece of shit.
Muggles, Quidditch, school, she made it all up.
J.K. Rowling would have you believe that these words written in a book were written by her, when in reality they were printed at a printing press. The thousands. You won't be fooled again.
Oh, sure, she'll cover them with delightful stories of children. That's because she's trying to hide the fact that these are just printed words.
And that's
the real deception.
And those stories are lies. You won't get fooled again. Oh, shit.
Doctors Without Borders claim that there are no borders.
Look at this globe. See the lines? I think those are them.
They really didn't have borders. Why do they have passports? You won't be fooled again.
That's a good sketch.
That's a good one. That's a good
I think we could do that on the Scam Nation channel. Just do that like just label it as like recovered footage from Masked Magician outtakes.
Although I guess the modern version of that is like all like the YouTube exposure ones, which are like equally as stupid, but certainly not as parodyable.
Well, yeah. There's something about the style of that. Like we'd have to set up. Maybe we could do it in the warehouse and set up the intelligent. Like CJ's got those intelligent lights. We could hire a few dancers, and I mean, like we could actually do, a note for note style parody of it. Throw a VHS filter on there and act like it came from the 90s. This therapist would have you believe that breakthroughs can be created. But really all she's doing is having you...
She's just talking to you.
Notice
won't
her
be fooled
lips are...
again.
She wants you to think of the ideas she's expressing, but notice her lips are moving and words are coming out.
But really, all she's doing is talking about your dad. Won't be fooled again.
Notice this. She doesn't talk very much, does she? She lets you do the talking. It's you doing all the heavy lifting the entire time.
I'm now imagining the after part of this infomercial.
He's like on the couch.
But he's also the or maybe it's one of the hot models on the couch is just talking, and he's there with a notepad going.
I'm imagining the after part of this infomercial where someone walks into his therapist and they ask him a question and he just goes. He's just silent.
Oh. Hey, do you mind? I saw some. I just want to signal boost Andrew Heaton's new Reason video. I thought it was very even-handed and very funny. And if you guys don't mind 2 minutes to showcase it, I would love to show it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, very, very funny stuff. Andrew Heaton is hilarious. Did his show today.
Oh, how did it go?
I don't know when it's coming out. I think I have like 2 episodes in the can with Heaton. I think one is like a evergreen banked episode that we did a while ago, and then the other we did today is about my Kim Kardashian will run for president take.
All right, here it is. Reason TV 2020 presidential candidate blowout. I love this very first frame. That's a very good first frame.
Hi, I'm Buck Schwartzmore. Come on down to Crazy Buck's Democratic National Committee, where we are massively overstocked on presidential candidates, and we've got deals you can't afford to pass up, like a nationwide $50 minimum wage, free college tuition, Medicare for all, or $1,000 cash to every American every month of the year. We've got so many giveaways, we're practically giving them away.
Howdy, folks. Steve Hightower here, Big Steve's Republican National Committee. And we basically have 2 options for you. So, if you like old white guys, jackpot. Tougher immigration restrictions, we'll get them for you. Crippling trade war, we'll do that too. Big bailout to cover all the losses from the crippling trade war, you can have that. Or you can have the complete opposite of all of those things. It could go either way.
No credit, bad credit, recent violent felony conviction, you can still have it all! Subsidies for green energy, free universal pre-K, paid parental leave. What about 12 new Supreme Court justices?
Taxes, we'll cut them.
Cut 'em.
Regulations, we'll slash them.
Slash 'em.
National debt,
Let's circle back to that later.
but if somebody kneels at a football game, we're totally gonna stick it to that guy on Twitter. So if you value freedom and equality under the law for all Americans, regardless of race, religion, gender, or sexual orientation, I promise you, we might bomb Mexico. Boom. It could go the other way too. So
Free U.S. Treasury bonds to every newborn child in America. Something about banking in a post office. We're even gonna break up Facebook and cap credit card interest rates.
see, one of them used to be libertarian, but he was a Republican before that. And the other actually started as a Democrat and then became a Republican and then joined the Reform Party and then back to a Democrat and then Republican again and then independent. But now I guess he's a Republican. So you can trust us.
$10 billion in slavery reparations. $9 trillion for climate change stuff. It's all real. And we're gonna overturn Citizens United.
Because we have to get money out of politics.
So go down to Route 51, just past the Starbucks. Don't even look at the Starbucks. Just past the Starbucks, then take a hard left.
Just off Highway 88 between the Chick-fil-A and the Exxon. Big Steve's Republican National Committee. Our inventory may be low, but our convictions are even lower.
Crazy Bucks Democratic National Committee. We've got the greatest deals in history, which we are doomed to repeat.
Oh, so good.
It's funny.
Heaton. Bringing the heat. Follow the Heaton.
Don't even look at the Starbucks. So
Can I show you a thing,
yeah,
Brian?
yeah, by all means.
Justin, I'm absolutely certain you've seen this clip already. Brian, I'm equally certain I don't think you've ever seen this clip. This is a clip, right?
Swear to God, if it's a dancing dog, I'm gonna be very excited.
No, but I think it might be close. This is Lil Nas X.
Yeah, this is the actual guy, right?
Yeah,
Dude, that's wonderful.
performing at an elementary school.
I've worked that gig. I may have worked that exact
I think
gymnasium.
he was. I don't know if Rick Smith Jr. was at this appearance or what, but the two of them were up
tweeting
together on
together?
Instagram. But yeah, and then the Twitter caption. This is what Coachella looks like to your parents.
Aww.
This is very sweet. Did you see this, Justin?
I did. I did not see if he changed the line about lean all in my bladder, though.
They did not.
They did
He
not.
did not.
He says lean all in my bladder. That's
Yeah.
pretty.
I'll tell you what, man. If you've not worked that gig, if you've not been that man, you are not in real showbiz. in my book, I just realized I'm being exclusionary to the. I don't know. Have you done that gig?
Performed in front of a bunch of kindergartners.
Yeah, on a. I guess you have the all set up magician. I'm thinking of just structurally, like under fluorescent lights. On a
totally
platform
yeah.
stage. You know,
But also, this is
for
like
for an audience that is not your perfect target demographic.
Oh,
no, elementary schools absolutely are. These kids are like, this is him doing a charity event and not like scrounging for whatever he can take. This is him out there like showing up.
No, this apparently the backstory on this was like a favor to a school, but he was like a very hyped special guest, and it's like a super popular song. But no, I get your point, Brian, which is like, you know, if you can't do your art under fluorescent lights for a crowd that is not there for you particularly, then you know that is the test.
Well, and specifically, like, man, when I was a meaner person 20 years ago, I derived tremendous Schadenfreude from going to like magic contests, and it was very clearly people who had practiced in their living rooms and had a very specific idea of how it was going to look as they developed their act, and then you find yourself in the actual place, and you're at the community college, and you all of a sudden nothing is arranged in your favor. Like that to me is the real work trademark. Hey, so a bunch of friends are booking tickets for FISM. FISM, for the first time, like since I became a magician, is in North America. In I want to say
is it?
Toronto or something.
Toronto?
Federation International de
Yeah.
Société Magique.
Yeah, this is the Olympics of magic. It's like the biggest deal worldwide, and everybody is.
That's not how you wear glasses. Very cool. Where is it in North America?
I tell you, it's either Ontario or Toronto.
2021 says Quebec.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's Canada.
Quebec.
Nailed it. Right in the neighborhood.
But yeah, normally it's in Europe. I think one time it was in China.
Yep.
China.
But no, FISM is. Yeah, the thing about FISM, obviously, it is a huge thing in Europe for magic as like a gathering place or a convention, but it is the most intricate like magician-y, oftentimes magician fooling routines. I've always found that rarely are the FISM winning routines stuff that I think are the best for lay people, but certainly for the magic crowd, it's fucking insane.
Yeah, if you've seen that, I think it's a vexed French magician who's cursed by appearing balls.
I mean, that's an example of something that it's like that's transcendent. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why the routine for that went viral. But other than that, there's also a reason why you can't name 3 other FISM routines that are also like viral hits.
As a matter of fact, famously in the world of magic, Tom Mullica, who does this amazing routine where he appears to eat an entire pack of cigarettes, did not win because the magicians were annoyed. Like, what is this? Dude just ate a bunch of cigarettes. That's dumb. They didn't even know they had been fooled.
Oh wow!
And that it was masterful sleight of hand. Have you ever seen the Tom Mullica eating cigarettes?
I don't think I have.
It's it might be worth deconstructing. That seems like an after show kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly worth just watching just to see what fucking him eating cigarettes looks like, because it's insane. It's amazing.
Let me see if I can find a good port of this.
But other than that, wait, are you gonna go up to Quebec? When is it?
I don't know.
2021 in July.
I got time to decide.
I mean, I would say that would depend on how much you can fucking squeeze out of
with Scam Nation. Yeah. Like we would have to go to cover it.
Yeah.
So this whole thing is a masterful set of manipulations, sleight of tongue, where you're watching lit cigarettes go into his mouth one at a time.
Yeah.
And it just keeps on going.
And he's popping them out, putting them back in.
He also does a bit of juggling where he tosses it, it does a flip, lands in his mouth, and he throws it in with his tongue.
Yeah.
He later did a DVD where he explains how all of this works, and just casually reminds anyone, not that anybody is going to, rip off his routine and start doing it. Is basically just a deconstruction of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But he reminds anybody watching that you just burn the hell out of your mouth every single time you do it.
Oh wow!
like
so there's less trickery than this is legitimately him.
Well, it's a lot of juggling and a very good magic move that gives the impression that he has swallowed all the cigarettes. It's amazing.
Wow. It looks good too.
Well, and also he later he's passed away since then, but
smoking.
He's no, I don't know. But he had a residency performing as Red Skelton in Branson, Missouri. In fact, he came out to the TAOM in 1999, I think. But it was he just has this remarkable, much like rubber-faced comedian Jim Carrey, this remarkable ability to convey larger-than-life expressions with his face.
Yeah, very animated facial flexibility.
And it's just remarkable. He's got an
great.
entire pack of cigarettes that he's smoking all at once.
Oh my goodness!
And adding more and more. And each time after they're lit, he draws them into his mouth. Highly recommended. Just do a search for. I don't know if we've shared this publicly. I don't want to share it publicly. I don't want to shine a spotlight.
Yeah.
You know the thing I'm talking about, right?
This
is the thing that Jason and I are talking about. There is one commenter
really
who every single episode, within an hour of release of The Modern Rogue, somebody asks us to reveal the Tom Mullica smoking trick.
Really?
And I don't want to give energy to the commenter because, like,
but they must know that you know about it.
Yes, but I don't want to respond. I think it's like an OCD thing or something. I think.
I'm saying, like, if they heard you, because you've talked about it at shoot days, if they've overheard you mention it on like a first pass edit or something, then that's a joke for them. That's just a hey, I'm gonna do the thing that I do.
So at some point he goes to wipe his tongue clean, it gets a bit of napkin stuck on it, and then just starts eating napkins.
This is great.
This act, FISM loser.
Wow.
Yeah. because you'd rather have something that, again, for magic, for people who are into magic, it's like, whoa, wow, yeah, these are invisible moves, insane that this person was able to do this because I know what sleight of hand looks like. Whereas like a insane piece of art like that is, and by the way, that Tom Mullica routine gets cooler every day that cigarette smoking is like
More punk
effectively
rock.
been wiped out of our modern society. Like. It is more avant-garde, more ridiculous, more dangerous, more rad that it plays around in that magical space because of it.
So we watched, I mentioned in the pre-show that Josie and I watched Logan today. And it's interesting how, 2 years ago that came out? In the 2 years since that movie came out, there was one moment that I thought was gratuitously trying to sell me on the idea that this is in the future, and yet today felt very authentically today now that we're in the future. And it's the moment when Logan has to buy a new car because I don't know, it's time to buy a new car, and he hands
kick the tires.
$10,000. Somebody's like, I can give it to you for $79.99. He's like, I'll give you $10,000 if I could just go right now. And the sales lady is, she's just kind of sitting there with this monstrous vape pen, and she just kind of goes. And then she's like, well, you got to change the tires. The tires are bald. And at the time, I thought like, okay, I get it. You want to explain to me this is the future, so you do like a future vapey pen thing. But no, those people are all real, and they're all selling cars.
Yeah, I mean like the big rigs.
Yeah,
yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
The big toasters.
with the ridiculous clouds.
Were you at a car dealership?
What's that?
What?
Oh, no. Just I remember in the theater when that moment happened,
Yeah.
them feeling like that was them clumsily saying, in the future, everybody will vape, and they'll vape times 11. And I was like, ugh, that's kind of a clumsy way to sell me on the future. And then now we're 2 years in the future, and I'm like, that is a very accurate, unremarkable thing that they did to sell me on the idea that this is a small town used car dealer.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Dan 33 says for the Mullica routine, do it with joints.
Literally.
A 420 routine of Tom Mullica's thing with pre-rolled joints.
Oh, and that would be amazing too, because then you could tap into Cardini. Back in I don't know, like the 30s or 40s or something, he did card manipulations and would make cards appear. But the spice that made him so popular was that was that he made it look like he was getting tipsier and tipsier as it went on, and he was like bumping into like, oh, these cards are in front of me again. Like imagine doing the Tom Mullica routine, but adding the idea of you're getting higher and higher
because now you're smoking fucking 15 joints at the same time.
And imagine in the audience they can definitely smell the
weed,
distinct
yeah.
odor of the weed. Holy cow, that would be amazing.
That would actually enhance it. That would be really fun.
I remember.
Too bad Mullica did not live to see that. That would have been his swan song. If you did it, I'm almost like I don't know for sure, but I'm fairly positive that Tom Mullica's Force Ghost would appear next to you and smile.
I believe I would think I'm seeing it.
Use the Kush, Brian. That's a Star Wars thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay,
Nailed
good.
it.
Yeah.
It would actually be the younger Mullica played by Hayden Christensen.
I don't know if we talked about this, Justin. Last time I did Heaton's show, I stumbled into the fact that he had never heard of the Star Wars as libertarian and Star Trek as socialist.
I listened to that. Yes.
I was really surprised that he hadn't heard of that, and you could hear kind of the gears grinding in his head for like an hour-long special about it.
Yeah, I certainly was far more familiar with the Star Trek being socialist thing. I guess I had never qualified Star Wars as libertarian because I guess I would have a hard time divorcing it from
The
George
prequels.
Lucas' personal kind of politics. But I certainly saw your point.
Yeah, and I guess canonically, I'm talking about just the first three releases, because it is all about independent contractors wanting to take down.
I mean, it is a rebel story. It is a story of rebels, and it's like, and you're like, oh yeah, because we're the rebels. Like me, this is like what's powerful about it is that everybody sees themselves as raging against the machine, and certainly libertarianism as a political ideology taps into that and says, okay, well, we should take these feelings that we are not getting a fair shake, and we should affect change for it. And then you talk to George Lucas, and he's like, yeah, this was about how the Viet Cong should have won, and we're Darth Vader.
Yeah, well, and I guess also like aesthetically, I think in science fiction, early '80s tropes, I think canonically, Blade Runner is held up as the most aesthetically libertarian, because you get the most patchwork, multicultural integration. Everybody, blending together everything from architectural and art styles to create this Hong Kong like melange.
Yeah, I guess I'd never really thought about it like that, because whenever you get into dystopian stuff, it's always interesting to see like, all right, well, who wants to say, oh yeah, no, this is our political ideology, this like futuristic dystopia where everybody's sad.
Yeah, well, and not that they're setting out to do that. I think there's just kind of archetypal stylistic choices that seem to.
Yeah, no, I don't mean by the creators. I mean more just by people who are like, oh, yeah, well, this is this. Because it's like, if things are bad, it's the ideology that you don't like, right? And it's like, oh, look, this is blank run amok. Like, and then if it's something that you like or characters that you like, you're like, well, exactly. That's what I would do. Me, and like, as I like this team.
I guess that also.
I mean, like, Star Trek is hyper competent socialism, is like socialist ideal, fully planned everything. We've eliminated our earthly desires because we have become so competent at government.
And I think I'm trying to get Penny in to actually watch all of Firefly. Firefly is an interesting example because, again, the politics of Joss Whedon are very leftist, progressive, and yet here he is trying to tell the story of essentially the South after the Civil War. And as essentially the main character is the leave me alone government, because like even the government isn't necessarily bad, they're just the
other side, yeah,
just a lot of red tape. Like and they as they put it, they meddle.
I mean, yeah, Firefly's a Western, and all Westerns on some level are distrustful of government. Very, very rarely, or at least the government that you don't know. The government from out of town, you're always is oftentimes distrustful, possibly corrupt, imposing their will, whereas it is the local. If law and order is going to come, it's either going to be from a righteous stranger or the honest lawman that we know and understand and knows really what's going on in this goddamn town. And so like, I think with Firefly, you can't really escape that element if you want it to feel like a Western.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I'll tell you what, actually, talking about smoking, I don't know if I fully wrap my head around exactly your point about the vaping thing in that episode.
just that a scant 2 years ago, what looked cartoonish and over the top, now 2 years later, looks very common and unremarkable.
No, not the Logan thing. On the Heaton episode, you were talking about the
Jules buying real estate all over Axios, and Juul, a seller of tobacco products, of nicotine, is actively running a campaign. So they are spending money to intentionally restrict their own product, and they're pushing for a nationwide 21 and over.
And I think
ban.
that they are not alone with tobacco, with the tobacco industry. The entire tobacco industry is strategically looking to punt to 21.
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen any. Juul is the only name I've seen associated with that idea, and it struck me as remarkable because specifically, Juul has a problem. Remember, we talked about that Vice video that was talking about them buying influencers who are under the age of 18 to do vape videos on there. So like, this is a company who has a whoopsie. We're buying advertising, we're buying influencers under the age of 18. Now they're coming out very strong for the over 21 crowd. They also happen to be the dominant brand in that space. And so I thought Andrew did a really good job of explaining regulatory capture, which is basically, while they're ahead, let's lock down everything and make it harder. Because when you want to establish yourself as a brand, you want to start with as young a group of people as you can as possible. Yeah. So if you already are number one in, let's say, the 18 to 21 publicly, secretly, you know that you're number one in the 15 to 21 crowd, then it is a very good move to make sure that nobody, including yourself, is allowed to try to advertise to that crowd, because you've already won, and now it's illegal for any other competitors to come in and try to capture.
Yeah. No, I got that. Was a very, very good point. I guess I had understood that this was industry wide, in that they were they kind of understand that, look, the ghost is we are kind of, it's no longer beneficial to us to play at 18 if we are going to not be able to advertise the way that we could advertise otherwise. If we are restricted 21 and up product, then we're going to be able to advertise the same way that liquor is able to advertise, or at least we can make the argument for it. We can reshape basically, like, the future of smoking is going to be better done as a cool people's thing that just avoids any kind of inclination that, hey, look, kids are always going to smoke in the same way that kids under 21 are always going to drink, but we can get smoky off our tail if we coordinate a push to 21, which seems to be kind of what they're doing, which is, like, fascinating. I think that the whole process is just, like, insane.
How so let's say they do move that to 21. How long until there's a movement to try to reconcile the idea that you're not allowed to choose to drink until you're 21, you're not allowed to choose to smoke until you're 21, but you are allowed to be conscripted and sent to either be killed or kill other people, and you're also allowed to select world leaders at 3 years earlier? Like, how do you think there's any movement to square that circle?
I'll tell you what, I mean, people want to move the voting age down to 16. So, maybe you'd be able to vote for president a full 5 years before you could have a beer or buy a cigarette legally.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, yeah, I think no one ultimately will care, because nobody really wants to cape up for cigarettes and tobacco. Nobody wants to
nobody wants to die on that hill.
Yeah, no one's like, oh, well, like,
unless it's dying of the pleasure from the sweet Turkish blend of Camel brand cigarettes. That's right, Camel. 21 Tobaccos makes for an amazing blend of relaxing, smooth smoke. This segment brought to you by Camel cigarettes. RJ Reynolds is the best. Wink.
10 out of 10 doctors agree. They're all smoking sweet Camels. Joe Camel here. I smoke a lot of cigarettes. And you know what? Sometimes I ride a motorcycle. And sometimes I fuck human ladies. And sometimes I fuck camel ladies.
This is the TV commercial?
Yeah.
Okay.
This'll all be animated.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
it's on premium cable, so it's fine.
Anyway, well, when I'm fucking a human lady or a camel lady, I like to enjoy a nice camel cigarette. I named them after me and my dick.
Did you ever see the TV Funhouse? Like there was
Of course, I've seen the TV Funhouse fucking Joe Camel thing.
Bryce. Is this before your time?
I think it's been a while, but I feel like I've seen all of those TV Funhouse ones. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
there was most people know the Saturday Night Live ones, but there was like 6 episodes that were piloted on Comedy
right?
Central. Yeah, and
I feel like I do remember that. I feel like I vaguely remember that being a TV show also.
yeah,
Uh,
where they were freebasing Christmas cheer. Yeah. If you get the chance, Google that.
So
Joe
I
Camel
literally, I was thinking
Pokemon.
about Joe Camel today because in the newsletter that'll go out, or did go out a couple minutes ago, somebody was like wrote in and was like, oh, like Trump had somebody like cut some like a dick in their lawn, like that was in the flight path of Trump coming into England. Like, what would you want cut into somebody's lawn if you were coming into a different country? And I was like, initially, I'm like, oh, what would be the funniest thing? And I'm like, Joe Camel. Like, how much did Joe Camel's face look like a dick and balls? Like, I wanted to. So I looked up a bunch of Joe Camel stuff. I wound up settling on a Big Johnson thing because I think that would be really funny.
Big
but,
Johnson.
But Joe Camel, for real, like
that's a fucking dick.
It's a dick and balls.
Dick and balls, right? But then look at this. Sometimes he fucks humans, right? Go back. He's fucking that lady,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
In
But
a
they
plane.
don't- Yeah, in a plane. He's a smooth character, Bryce. He does what the fuck he wants.
Sometimes he's
That's
fucking.
that's certainly not for kids. Yeah, just a bunch of pizza. But then sometimes he fucks lady camels.
Oh my god.
That man did what he wanted. That's what a smooth character really is.
As long as he doesn't yiff, he whiffs. Nobody? No yiff jokes? All right.
All right.
Oh man, I'm glad I didn't click on this one with
with actual testicles.
Actual Joe Camel
with
with
a
a
definite cigarette
cigarette
stuffed
for a
up his
dick.
dick. Hold on, go back actually. I actually dig. Here, scroll down. 1950s white shirt wearing Joe Camel on the bottom row on the right. There you go. That's the coolest Joe Camel right there. Classic Joe Camel.
This Joe Camel plays bass for Nirvana.
Yes, this Joe Camel is Chris Novoselic. I mean, I never got into smoking, but I definitely thought Joe Camel was cool as a kid. Like, I definitely liked Joe Camel. Like, I when I was looking at Joe Camel pictures, I was like, man, I have fond memories of Joe Camel.
I mean,
I
mainly.
guess I should get a Joe Camel shirt.
Hey, Justin, you want to know why you had fond memories of Joe Camel? Because those ads were in Penthouse magazine, I'm told. That's why I have fond memories of Joe Camel.
I mean, they weren't. But
Oh my
like, they
God,
were-
Beef Viper, same moment. He goes, I only remember him from Playboy and shit. Yeah, so I'm not alone.
Maybe it was Playboy. I kind of feel like I would have seen it other places, but maybe not. Maybe it was just in there. I mean, I guess if you're like fucking, looking at a porno mag and like you're trying to.
Yeah, you're probably physiologically charged in that moment and maybe a little bit primed for a little bit of placement, especially with a dude whose face is dick and balls.
Yeah.
To be all like, hey, man, you like the way you're feeling right now? You'll like even more the smooth taste of Camel cigarettes.
Can I get a Joe Camel t-shirt? No, I just really want
Probably.
a Joe Camel t-shirt.
Man, there was a time that I thought that nothing could be more punk rock than wearing a Jar Jar Binks t-shirt, but now I'm realizing that it's a Joe Camel. That is fucking punk.
Like, I would definitely like to Sell
My
cigarettes.
child would very much not approve of this. Hey, we did that Understanding Cigars episode of the Modern Rogue, and shocker, a bunch of teenagers are like, "Oh, mouth cancers, that's cool, I got them." Hold on, why is Felicia Day on the list next to cigarette logo?
On the motorcycle with Joe Camel.
Hold on.
Why, Felicia Day? Why are you doing Joe Camel's a real roustabout. He's had sex with that lady in a plane.
I think it's just because there's some know your meme thing for Joe Camel that is also somehow tied to Felicia Day.
Well, okay, but here's the crazy thing. So, teenagers mount up and want to shit on cigars.
Teenagers mount up.
And so, and yet, motherfucking FDA does a 10-year lifetime study or whatever, basically comes back saying like, yeah, up to one cigar per day, every day of your whole fucking life, statistical increase in cancer risk, donut. Zero.
Wow, really?
Zero. Yeah.
Send me that thing. I want to show it to my wife.
Yeah, well, it's funny how much they don't want to hear it. like I'm like, hey man, look, this is a big ass study. If you type in cigar, let's see, FDA cigar.
But also, do you expect kids to be caught up in all the studies?
I expect them to not be all up in my junk about having a cigar.
Well,
I say loud enough for my 15-year-old daughter to hear.
God.
is this the definition of punk rock now? I don't know that this is.
It says here, news. FDA study, cancer risks nearly nil for 1 to 2 cigars per day. This is a 2016 study. Cigar smoking carries many of the same health risks as cigarette smoking, but also says it's fine to have 1 or 2. That's so weird.
So I think really the thing that you're experiencing is the whatever metastasized between like the counterculture of like, youth will always react to what their parents did, right? And so now smoking is cool became not smoking is cool, right? Combined with the internet's very unique slip and slide to like, I want to just tell you a thing that is different than what you're saying, or I want to be right, or I want to be on the moral high ground. And so now, you'll just get the teenager lynch mob that's just like, oh, yeah, you want everybody's mouth to fall off, you piece of shit. Because cigarette smoking's bad, and cigars are large cigarettes, which means they're large bad. And even if you don't breathe them in, you're putting them in your mouth, and your mouth's going to turn inside out and turn into a fucking huge inside-out mouth.
By the way, Dan33 is wondering if I smoke a cigar every day. No, I do not. I have a cigar maybe once a month. But now that I found out that I could have 1 to 2 a day.
Up it, baby. I get a box. I'm fucking sitting in my Panama hat. I'm smoking 1 a day, maybe 2. Tell you what, FDA says so.
Do you think maybe Bryce, I don't expect you to have to speak for everybody younger than you, but do you think everybody younger than you is more puritanical? Like, do you think
that's not a train I'm gonna ride.
Okay,
right. I'm not about to start yelling at the kids, because
Like,
I don't see it.
like,
I know that you have a
is
very
there
specific
anything-
experience with this, especially this topic, but I don't know that that's a universal.
Don't take our lead. We're a bunch of jaded old men who got our own fucking lay of the land. But we had a moment, Bryce, where I don't think we've ever felt more close to you as we welcomed you, much like Gandalf led Frodo onto the boat to the land of away from the Shire.
I'm just gonna remind everyone this is a very circumstantial anecdote to the question that was asked of me.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
You can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave. You're on our side now, so fucking welcome. I don't even know. Should we explain this?
Go for it.
Bryce didn't know a bunch of bands at a music festival, and I shared with him. That was the moment that I realized I had officially.
Yeah, I think this was in one of the after shows a few weeks ago.
Yeah, possibly. So the new ACL festival, the local Austin City Limits Festival, had their lineup come out, and I knew the top line, but not as many of the bottom line people as I normally know.
So here was, I swear to God, I think that half these music festivals just make those names up.
You don't know Joseph?
Idols? Go Penguin?
Julia-
Oh, come on, man. Oh, my
Julia
God.
Jacqueline?
So here's what we should do. Here's much like aliens trying to convince people they're humans. We should just memorize all of these names, have a list of 20 band names from this list that we just casually drop in conversation to anybody younger than 30 around us. And then,
Wait, have I ever told you guys about the Distillery Factory?
oh, you did. It was a fake band that you dropped, right?
Oh, yeah, but there was like a music snub in our sketch comedy group, and we just gaslit him. We all decided that we were going to gaslight him about how we were all into this band, the Distillery Factory, until he broke down and asked us to either A, he would start lying about listening to the Distillery Factory and agreeing that they made good music, or he would break down and ask one of us to give him a CD. Eventually, he broke down. No, but this is what I would ask you, Bryce.
Okay.
It's forget anything about what we think about the kids TM these days, or teenagers, or youth culture, or things, the way things changed and the way they ought to be, right?
Okay.
But from your perspective, is there anything that you have become annoyed about with people that are younger than you? Is there any trait that you're like, oh man, that's kind of weird, that's different than how I remember growing up, or at least a surprising trend?
I mean, I don't have very much exposure to people much younger than me. I don't. Kids.
I hang out with the olds.
Well, I mean,
look, man, I don't. I'm a pube that hangs out with the Greys. So
well, I just don't. Okay, I'm
that's
not
a
gonna
specific.
say.
That's a specific reference to the Dark Tower. Don't
Okay,
worry.
I'm not gonna say teenagers next to the word pubes, but I don't really find myself hanging out with teenagers very much. So all I know about them is from anything I see on TikTok or on Twitter or whatever.
Sure, yeah, that's more what I'm talking about.
I mean, I think the things that I would maybe think are weird or I don't know, annoying is probably nothing new, right? Like in the long in the long stretch of, adolescence, right? The want to be famous is still the same thing. It's just we all now have cameras and, computers. And so I think there's more, I guess, performative is not the right word, but there's more people like being on, being like, I don't know, being very camera forward or trying to be personalities and, personal brand and all that. But I also think that if you go back far enough, it probably wasn't any different, that the general idea. So I don't know. I think the adjectives are the nouns are different. I think the adjectives.
I would say that the pervasiveness of it probably is just because if I remember when I was in, I guess it was high school, but I was in like TV production class, and you just realize for the first time that like we're the same kids that are walking by them at lunch, but the second anybody has a camera, like everybody's
mugging for it,
trying to do a cartwheel and mugging and screaming and yelling their friend's name and trying to curse. Like it's like this weird kind of power that now has shattered infinitely. And it's like it still has that power. It still will affect and change how people operate, except for apparently that one dude cutting lines in the fucking hockey player's Instagram story or whatever.
I didn't see that.
The game. Like usually that should have changed the opinion. Be like, hey, stop filming my Coke, or however you say that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's I think the scale of having cameras and stuff is definitely a newer thing. But I also think like this is something that my age group came up with, of being a more online generation, and at the time, like, hey, don't put too much out there, don't talk to strangers online, and that evolving into an online heavy, lifestyle, right? I mean, we all have phones now. We all have some sort of profile that is how, we are using these things, not to supplement, but as kind of a sneakily built-in function of relationship, today, right? It's not just like, hey, let me text you. We can text, but it's like, what's your any account? What's your account on a social network, right? Those things have become hand in hand, and I guess in the abstract, I would love to see less of that, but that's a very broad concern, just in terms of like being so tied in,
Just
to
doing everything in
social
public.
networks. Well, not even that, because I think in the long run that's not as much of a big deal, but being tied to as few social networks as we have now, and them being as big and as old as they are, there's, I mean, you look at any piece of YouTube news from the past 2 weeks and you just go, fuck, we're still doing YouTube? Like, why? I don't know. It's I don't know, but also kids are younger people are more more willing to change social networks. So I don't know. I just feel like stuff's gonna crumble, and people need to be ready to move.
That's certainly my perpetual fear, which is why I'm constantly diversifying. First diversifying out of network silos, then diversifying to other channels, and then diversifying to other platforms. It's I'm constantly terrified. Like, if I'm old enough to have watched MySpace be the thing,
Sure,
and then it was nothing, and you could have been king of MySpace, and now you're king of an empty garbage field. But
I think the difference, or I guess the distinction I would make, is that's always been good business advice. And I don't know that that's ever been a function of relationship or society.
social advice. Yeah.
Right. I mean, was it a year or 2 years ago now? Like the online forum that I used to go to constantly kind of collapsed, and there's a big kind of overnight shift to, we're finding a new place, we're making a new place, here's a new place. Was like, it was a big moment. It was kind of a big emotional thing, because it's like, oh well, I use this site every day. What am I find, and so if that happens to a Twitter, if that happens to a Facebook, not necessarily those sites ceasing to function. The site that I went to didn't cease to function, but it was time to move on, and that happens for Twitter or Facebook or YouTube.
Canceled.
Well, I mean, there's more than that.
Canceled.
Oh my God. MDTA UK says, are you talking about porn and Tumblr? And I thought he was making a Penn and Teller joke. Porn and Tumblr would be an amazing magician duo.
No,
we are Porn and Tumblr.
No, I did forget about Tumblr, but Tumblr was another. No, I'm talking more about NeoGAF. That was
well,
that was
and it's tough because
imagine that happens to YouTube, right?
Yeah,
that's millions of people around the world.
Well, and also it's there are other real human beings on the other side of those weird screen names, and that connection that you spend 2-3. I think about the Revision 3 forums, to be honest. Like that was one of the first communities that I plugged in and auditioned to become their friends, and I realized there's a show and I could do my best to ingratiate myself to everybody. Sure. And I put a lot of effort, and some of those friendships and relationships have survived and some have not. It's nice to still see Rabid Badger on Twitter and to read up on Travis Lopes doing his stuff. And but I think of all of the people who I wasn't able to maintain that thread with, and that slowly evaporated from my understanding as, or my memory of them as actual human beings.
And I think,
to be honest, it's part of what is very, very precious about it. It's part of the reason that we have church as many Tuesday nights as we can, and that's an important part, is because this fellowship, it keeps everybody real people.
Sure.
To me,
And that's part of why I mentioned not just that these social networks are getting bigger, but that they're getting older. As they grow, like and could you imagine any social network that is permanent, over anyone's lifetime? And I
mean, physical towns is about all you can do, right?
Sure. Yeah. But other than that, I mean, even Facebook can get as big as it wants. But one day, Facebook's going to go away, and
fuck, I missed the I was gonna say physical towns, and then the next part. Help me finish this joke, Justin. Physical towns, that, and being on blank's email list.
Jay Sankey.
Ooh, Brian loved that one.
Wow. Wow, it's been a while. I got it.
He's doubled over in coughing fit. Woo.
Love you, Jay.
He sends a lot of fucking emails, man. What are you gonna say?
he's a very active promoter.
No, look, dude, man makes a lot of fucking money. He does a good job for himself. He sends a lot of emails. I mean, so does a lot of people send a lot of emails. Anyway, whatever. Jay Sankey sends a lot of emails. That's the joke.
But I think what I'm getting at about these networks getting old is not, that they're old or that the demographic on them is getting older, but that we probably should expect for these sites to wax and wane, to come and go and be replaced by a new thing, instead of institutionalizing them as, a pillar of society, right? Like even Google probably, I mean, Google has the best chances of surviving Facebook,
I mean, but apparently not. I mean, we watched Google Plus die, and eventually.
But I mean, Google Corporation.
Sure.
Think of every service.
Here's the big thing, though. What's changed and what is significant about some of those companies and therefore those social networks is the fact that we had the real shattering of our monoculture, which in terms of culture means one thing. In terms of economics, meant that advertisers needed new places to spend money. And the new crops of advertisers that would replace businesses that were going to fail no matter what were finding new places to spend money. And the two largest advertising sales platforms right now are Facebook and Google. Google cracked it first, and Facebook found a new way to hyper-target ads. And now that is the way that, I mean, if you look at our life and realize how many display advertising dependent mediums we have that we don't even think about because it's ads, right? It's free. It's this thing that I have, or even I pay for it, but I also, it would not work if it did not sell ads on top of it. They're going away, and now that money's going to this place. Now, if there is a advertising disruption to Google in the way that Google did it to, all these other display advertising outlets, then yeah, like they will go away. But for right now, the monoculture cracked and has now infused itself however much, like all that money has come into these platforms. And so now, I think that there is a longevity. I think that there's going to be a Google and a Facebook for as long as we're alive. Now, maybe they fade.
Yeah, I mean, I can see. I don't know.
MySpace never had that. I mean, what Google and Facebook have done is significant, and right now it is like the question after that might not be where do you go to advertise, but like, is there a thing called advertising? You know, like what does that even look like? How do people get products in front of potential purchasers?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's I don't think it would be a good thing necessarily. Whether or not they do or don't stick around for the rest of my life, but especially as an active part of people's relationship, I think it is probably better for us to keep moving on to newer and newer platforms.
I'll tell you what. There was probably a time I had a healthy fixation on finding out like how whatever my brand or the launch of Scam School or whatever that was doing, and then NSFW show and so on. But it is a habit every month or so to kind of peek in and do a search for names or just to see what's popped up in the last week. And as more and more communities go to, not the dark web. What's the middle ground? The one that's not bad. Where Google doesn't search it.
Or just like no robots,
yeah, or
unindexed.
No robots.txt.
deep web. There we go. Deep web. Thank you, W. Scottus one. Yeah.
Okay.
So as more and more conversations go
this
to
summer, the deep web.
as more and more conversations go to the deep web, for example, you can type in, let's say Scam Nation. I want to know how Scam Nation is doing with the rebrand and all that, see what people are talking about it. Type in, quote, Scam Nation, quote, and then say everything from the last week. Nothing from Facebook shows up. Nothing from any chat room shows up. Nothing from any of the fragmented communities. The only stuff that pops, you might get a few forums that allow robots to crawl their stuff, which is an increasingly smaller number, and you'll get Reddit posts. And it occurs to me that once Reddit, and I'm going to act like it just has to happen, once they decide to stop letting Google index all of their searches, once they realize there's more value in getting people to treat Reddit as the entire internet the way Facebook wants everybody to think of Facebook as the entire internet, I don't know. That'll be a big deal because then all of a sudden there'll be so much that I guess I don't know if it'll be a big deal. I don't know. But my point is what I'm seeing is in the fragmentation is I'm seeing increased interest in privacy and more independent communities not saying don't be searchable.
I think Facebook is searchable,
if you put on Facebook post fuck Brian Brushwood and I did a search for quote Brian Brushwood search last 24 hours, it will not show up. It does not show up on a Google search. Or let me put it this way. I've never seen a Facebook post ever show up as I've done those searches for various brands.
No, on Google?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, no. That was the whole reason why they made Google Plus. Was
Right.
because they were, it's in the book, in the Plex, that the team that was working on Google Plus, they got a painting of a ship being capsized by a gigantic wave, and it was like called the Big Blue Wave Team because they were so terrified that as Facebook, there was a time when you could Google search into Facebook and then Facebook cut that access off, and they were so terrified that as that information continued to become more and more valuable, that they would not have access to it, they would not be able to index it, they would not be able to sell ads against it. And so that's why they made Google Plus, because they're like, we need to get in this game. We need to get in the people are posting about things and posting their pictures and posting all this data and everything. And now that the world is a little bit more educated on this, we now know it's like, oh yeah, so they can like literally target to exactly what you want, or at least give advertisers what seems to be this very robust menu of, oh, I want people that are active and happy, and then we know that because we know that they smile in pictures, and we know that they're night owls because they always are active between these hours of the day. So happy night owls. Like, here's a Joe Camel T-shirt.
You guys are all about to get laid and probably in a state of heightened sexual arousal and probably very susceptible to this penis and balls face camel.
One other thing, kind of on a similar topic. I don't know if you guys saw this upcoming update to Chrome, the Chrome browser. Apparently, in an upcoming update, they are going to change. They're going to change an API for receiving content on the web that will that ad blocking extensions use to filter out content via their lists or rule sets, whatever. They're going to completely change that API, and Google has said that this will break all the good ad blockers, and all the not so good ones will also find limited functionality.
Can I share something that I think I'm going to buy for this? Have you heard of the browser fingerprinting? You know about this?
No.
So whenever you connect to a thing, so yes, your IP address is on there, and you think, oh, I'll just use a VPN, and I won't know it's me, right? But there's a number of things that the site that you go to can ask, like, what's your desktop resolution? Are you on a mobile phone or are you on a desktop? Sure. Are you this, that, and the other thing? And each one of those vectors is increasingly unique. And if you do a search, you can find out whether or not the way you use the internet is fingerprintable. So now, no matter what the site, no matter whether you have cookies enabled or not, whether it's a in private or incognito browser or whatever, sure, they're like, well, we know that somebody with a desktop resolution of this, who has these 3 extensions installed, blah, 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 visited us on this time. And there's only 1 in 200 million browsers that has that. And sure, so here's this ad served up for you. There was I believe it's a Kickstarter right now for a device called Winston, I believe, that it's basically a gizmo that you put between.
Love gizmos.
You put it between your router or your cable modem, whatever you want to call it, and your router, and it creates a mesh network with all the other Winston devices, and every single time you go to any page, it routes it through a different device. So there's some demos. If you scroll way on down, it's a terrible, terrible pitch for it. But there are some demonstrations if you scroll on down on the fingerprinting, where it shows that right now you're in Chicago, and likely this device, now you're suddenly a different device, and so on.
That's a smart idea. And I think that people are going to get more and more interested in not having their shit being served up on a silver platter for anybody who wants it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I don't know if you guys caught all the WWDC stuff, but Apple is going, you know how there's a sign-in with Google, sign-in with Facebook, third-party single sign-on? Apple is launching their own sign-in with Apple, and it will use your Apple ID, like you would use like Face ID, but as part of the sign-up process, their whole thing is that they're going to restrict as much personal identification information as they can. But the other thing will be that they will even set up randomized one-time email password forwarding, or not password, but like email forwarding addresses for you, so you can sign up for these apps using their one-time generated email account, so that you have control and your personal email isn't pooled up.
I will say this: Apple, which has been a very puzzling company to me over the past 5 years. The one thing that I have found in just my own life to be very appreciative of is that they do give a shit about privacy, because I'm paying $1,000 for a fucking phone, in a way that the advertising companies, Facebook and Google, simply don't, and they never will. Twitter doesn't, because they're there to sell you as advertising. And also, look, Face ID is good enough that now I have LastPass. I have never had totally randomized passwords. I now have it because Face ID is good enough that, and they have those hooks into all the logins now. That like now really my problem is I have too many fucking things that are telling me that they have my password, and I have too many different versions of passwords that are.
And then some of them get updated with the new password, and other ones don't. And so it's like
Yeah.
you're like Face ID. Hold on, let me ask LastPass. LastPass is like pretty sure it's this, and then you're jumping back and forth. However, I will say. Life is a lot better since I dove into that LastPass lifestyle.
Yeah. The Face ID stuff and the integration that they added a few years ago with iOS is very nice.
If you
And also, let me say this about the subscription thing. So I was might have been high. I wanted to try out this thing with the lights that we have here that we also have in our living room. They all of a sudden the app on Switch was like, oh, also now we do stuff for events. So it's like for the basketball game, you can turn on your lights to, Trailblazers versus Golden State Warriors. And I'm like, oh, I wonder what that would be. Like, I wonder if it's, for per basket or like maybe there's some dynamic, like as a team is getting closer, the lights will kind of like slowly shift. I'm thinking about all these cool ideas of like what you could do, and I'm like, cool, I'll turn it on. They're like, it's part of our premium package, $3.99 a month.
Weird.
And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, I don't even want to do it. And then all of a sudden, curiosity gets
It's just 1 month.
I was about to say, where does the part with you being high come into this? And now I understand.
Right. I'm like, well, I don't know. Okay, whatever, $4, right? So I do it, and it sucks. It's fucking garbage. It's like the worst.
Is it just like custom color palettes? I'm guessing.
Literally, you want to know what it's only time to is commercial breaks.
What?
It'll be like your regular things, and then it'll be like a different color during commercial breaks because they can't reliably have it with as the basket is being scored, right? Because they don't know what TV you're watching or if you're delayed or whatever, right? But commercial breaks, I guess, in sync, it's stupid.
Yeah.
Here's all I do now
But-
is that when I went to go unsubscribe, I could not find a place in their app to do it.
Oh,
And-
did you subscribe with Apple? Because you have
I
to go
did.
through the iTunes page to do those
Oh,
things.
motherfucker.
But they've got all the things that I subscribe to through iTunes right there, and it is one button, done. Like, was greatly helpful. The fact that they have thought to that level of like, hey, look, people have a lot of subscriptions. It would be really nice if you just had one dashboard where you could see everything. Like that is something that I think Apple has done very, very well in a way that, selling $1,000 fucking computer stands puzzles me.
We talked a bit about this on Cord Killers in that Amazon does a similar thing with you turn on the HBO subscription, turn off the HBO subscription. Having it all in a dashboard makes it easy to become, as we've newly minted the word, a cord swinger.
A cord swinger.
Yeah.
Oh, you're swinging your cord all over the place.
Well, yeah, like hey man, I get around. I don't stick to any one service. I'll do this one for a month and then this other one.
But on the Chrome ad blocker thing, I've liked Chrome for years. I used it because at the time Firefox Firefox had changed stuff and was slow, and that's the reason you would have switched browsers back at the time, just because any given one was slower than the other. But now, where in a world where Chrome has a very significant market share, is the leading browser right now, certainly. This is something that will shift a lot of people away from Chrome in hopes of getting advertising money.
Yeah, I think I might be done with Chrome. Like once I found out that it monitors every keystroke in that address bar.
Sure.
If you get halfway through a thought and then think, oh no, this is more of an incognito thought, and then back it out, all of that goes on the record on there. I installed the DuckDuckGo privacy plugin that basically just puts up a letter grade on every site you're at any given time on how they are. every single Google product has a D rating because it's like nothing you're doing, not any thought you're having is private right now.
And I think there are degrees to where that's probably fine. I mean, you look at like Netflix. Netflix is a closed environment, and they know everything that you do when you're in Netflix, right? They know when you pause in a show. They know what shows you binge. They know what shows you take one day, 1 week at a time. And in the scope of Netflix, I think that's fine because it's
because that is the service you are purchasing is
Sure.
somebody who gets you and will present to you stuff that you know you like. But
And
also Netflix very significantly is not selling ads
Sure.
or
Yeah.
shaping your ideas,
Yeah.
you know.
And so I think, there will probably let me know if this is too radical, but I think there will be a reckoning on Chrome the day that this happens.
I think there's a reckoning on Chrome right now. It's an earthquake waiting to happen. I think there's a reckoning on all of Google's business model waiting to happen. I think that Facebook has experienced that earthquake, and I think a lot of people understand that you could essentially oversimplify it by saying an election was bought through Facebook.
Sure.
And we don't know what PR disasters are waiting on the Google side of things. But my guess is that Google has not been a better actor than Facebook. They just haven't had their reckoning yet.
But I think with this Chrome stuff, that's not even going to be a moral issue. It's going to be a consumer hassle. Right, like you'll kind of you'll put the shades on and you'll realize the web you were missing, and for some people they don't use ad blockers and God bless them, but if you don't know the news, one day you're gonna wake up and you're gonna find out real hard.
Man, I can't wait. I guess Apple kind of has it, but I don't spend enough time in Apple ecosystems to justify it. But that whole idea of name a price. Let me access unbiased journalism,
The Apple News Plus stuff.
Yeah, but I can't be bothered to set it up on desktops and all that stuff.
That's also not. You're not getting a lot of news with the Apple News Plus.
Really?
That's a very magazine-heavy service.
It's more magazines. They weren't able to make the
sucks.
deals.
They got Washington
Post.
Post. Did they get Washington Post? No, they didn't get Washington Post.
No.
They got
Washington
LA
Post.
The LA Times,
LA Times and Wall Street Journal.
Wall Street Journal, and a basic version of the Wall Street Journal. Not everything in the Wall Street Journal. So yeah,
It's
Plus is a misnomer. You watch that keynote and you're like, this is a lot of talk about fucking magazines, and the magazines look good. They look good on iPad.
Yeah, but who cares about that, man? It's I'm tired of going to Google News and being like, oh, did you access 5 whole articles this month? Well, why don't you sign up and pay us money and let The Atlantic be your only... Actually, The Atlantic is one of the ones that you do. I've started to realize, I've started to look at URLs and immediately know whether or not I have to turn on the VPN and open which type of incognito browser and search for the thing to go.
Business
to
Insider,
avoid it. Yeah.
definitely. TechCrunch is starting to get a little. They used to be like, "Hey, we're gonna nag you," and now they're really locking some of TechCrunch.
The Guardian is pretty good. The Guardian's
Guardian's
just
good.
the Guardian's like,
Guardian
hey, just a
tags you at the
reminder.
end of all of their articles, hey, while you're here, pay me money, please.
Well, what they say is free to those who can't afford it, supported by those who can, which I think is a great take. It's just hey, you right now, can you afford? Which category are you in? Are you somebody who literally can't?
Are you a poor?
Are you somebody who literally can't afford to give us?
Please, peruse for free all you want. It would be really embarrassing if a rich was masquerading as a poor.
Yeah, it's
I could
It's
tell
weird.
there are those moments that you're equal parts proud of yourself and aware you're old. And for me, it was realizing that I really dig The Economist.
That's you know what? That's a good that's a Brian Rushwood pick because they are a very Straight and narrow source. Yeah.
Yeah. Their podcast is particularly good because it's basically just summaries of the shit you do, and it's when I want to go to bed and fall asleep and not feel bad that I'm missing something, I'll put on The Economist.
Yeah.
All right. Well, The Economist is the party killer.
Hey, good talk, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Man, you know those pains dropping when The Economist is on.
Don't forget, follow the socials at Schwood, at Justin R. Young.
Hey, man,
at
we love you
Breakfast,
guys.
At Night Attack Show.
So
And,
good to be back together. We got the band back together.
We're back. Alrighty, guys. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
XOXOXOXOXO hugs and kisses.